Hey y'all. So I wanted to hop on real quick. I actually didn't plan on getting on this early, but I don't have a client until about 1 o'clock. And so I got about an hour and 30 minutes. And this morning I was sitting with myself and just trying to, I guess, understand how I could be more of service to people with the information that I know. And I saw this video, and someone in the video was like, your mind is just looping. Your mind is just looping things, right? And so as I went and sat on my porch, I basically was just asking questions to my oversoul about just to gain clarity or whatever, because I don't think I've ever truly defined what your mind is or what it's supposed to be doing, right? And so I started asking questions of clarity because the messages that I keep getting over these last couple of weeks is that we're using our mind in an inverted way, meaning like our mind is supposed to be helping us, but a lot of us treat our mind like it's the enemy, because a lot of us are living in survival, which means that your mind starts to develop when you start becoming in community with other people. It starts developing when your sacral chakra starts developing, which is the chakra of emotional energy, and every single connection that we have is based off of emotional energy, right? And it's the part of us that realizes that if we choose to engage with other people, there's a potential for us getting hurt, right? And so the mind is like the logical part of you, the part of you that needs to organize experiences so that you can figure out what your possibilities are, right? But when we're wounded, when we're dealing with trauma, when we haven't healed from that trauma, or even been told how to navigate that, the mind is becomes untethered from the body, which is your body, which is a transmutation device, but also your heart, which is feeling, right? You need to feel, because within the feeling is the understanding of whatever it is you're trying to process through the mind. And so a lot of times when you're looping thoughts and stuff is because your body needs to integrate whatever it is. But if you're constantly ignoring it, or you're living in this state of overthinking, and you are not acknowledging anything that's going up there, it literally just keeps looping the worst case scenario, right? And so I wanted to hop on here because I think that as a person who has had a lot of mental struggles in life, I think I've learned a lot about my mind, and now being on the other side, someone who is able to manage my mind a lot better, and somebody who just looks at life from a different standpoint now. I just wanted to share what I was downloading this morning, and also just give a better understanding so that this video is out there. Okay, so that somebody who might be struggling with mental health, or might not understand what confusion is, or apathy is, or envy, or some of these heavier emotions, can have this in one place, and maybe it'll help. I don't know. I'm just trying to help. Okay, that's all I got. All right. Thank you for the Atlantis videos. You're welcome. I'm excited. This sounds like this is about to be good for me. Okay, period. It is actually. I thought about you when I was having this download earlier, but I promise I'm not obsessed with you. It's just me and you got some of the same trauma. So yeah, so I do think it'll be good. So I wanted to hop on because I had a bit of a slow morning, which has been abnormal for me lately because I've been extremely fucking busy, like booked out. And then that's not a bad thing, but I struggle with balance in between that. And so this morning, I just gave myself this morning as free time, and I don't have a client until 1 o'clock my time, which is about an hour and a half. And it just gave me time to sit with myself. And I realized that I was missing the stillness. I was missing sitting in the stillness, because that's where a lot of my downloads happen, or my realizations, or whatever. And so this morning I got to sit with myself, and I just wanted to come on here and share it, because I don't think we understand just how separate the mind, the body, and the soul are. Your heart is its own entity, right? It's your own level of consciousness. It works in magnetism, though. Your body is its own consciousness, right? And it holds the memory. It helps you to transmute memories, old and new. And when I say old, I don't just mean of this life. I mean across soul lifetimes, right? And then your mind is just the scribe. It is the record keeper. It's keeping track of the experiences so you know what all your options are, right? It's not supposed to be who you think you are. You know what I'm saying? It's so many people, and what I've realized just on this journey is that so many of us have a hard time separating ourselves from our thoughts or separating ourselves from our emotions. We think that it's some type of identity characteristic. You know, we take on the sad girl trope or the good girl or the whatever, you know, and we think that it's something that is an identifying characteristic for us when it's not. It's giving us information and we're not processing the information because we don't realize that it's information. We just think it's something we have to deal with. You know, I seen a video earlier of this dude and I was cracking the fuck up because, bitch, I've been there. But it was this dude who was like, people was asking him like, oh my gosh, you've been through so much. Like, how did you make it through it? He said, I was crying, I was sad, I was depressed, I was all the things. Like, it's just a part of life. You just got to pick your heart because you're going to be depressed. And it kind of made me sad because I'm like, yeah, I used to think like that. I legitimately was just like, all this shit, we gonna suffer. And that's just a part of life. We just gonna have to figure it out. But we don't realize that it's within that suffering, within those feelings, when we get into that resonance, there's something that needs to be looked at. There's something that's hidden. There's something that we need to transmute. And because we don't know that and we think that this is a natural part of life, we just learn how to adjust around it instead of using it as a tool for curiosity or like a tool for deeper exploration. Okay. And so I'm about to yap. If you don't like the yapping, now's the time to leave. Okay. But I think you should stay because this is going to be beneficial, hopefully. Okay. Ooh, I got to stop drinking that coffee black. It's disgusting. All right. So your mind, when it's conditioned with fear and shame and past trauma and grief and whatever, it becomes a looping device. Okay. What happens is it's repeating your internalized beliefs, right? Because those are the things that you need to look at because your beliefs dictate how you move through your reality. And so if your beliefs are out of alignment with who you are, your mind, because your body needs something different, your mind is only doing what is only bringing to your awareness, right? Translating the feeling into something you can understand for your body. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Your mind is only translating what your body needs. Okay. So if you have internalized belief systems that are not in alignment with your soul's truth, they're going to keep coming to the top. Okay. So that's what I mean by internalized belief systems, but also worst case scenario. Worst case scenario keeps coming up because you're trying to stay safe. Nope, that's not. You're trying to stay safe. Those words came out as like a one syllable. Okay. You're trying to stay safe. Okay. So you're looping the worst case scenario so that you can pre-air. What is going on with my words? So that you can prepare to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Okay. You're trying to prepare yourself for what is to come, for the unknown. Okay. And then you also have societal programming. Societal programming, the conditioning is replaying as well, right? Because the conditioning influences your belief systems. And so sometimes the conditioning is replaying because you need to look at this because this is out of alignment with your truth. Okay. Does that make sense? Now, when you're actually aligned, when your mind is actually aligned, it becomes a sacred translator, bringing the unseen, what you have digested, but needs to be relooked at. That's what I mean by unseen. What you have digested, what you have internalized, what you have said is true for you, that is in conflict with what your soul is saying is true for you. Okay, it's bringing the unseen up. And that comes through intuition, it comes through soul wisdom, and it comes through oversoul memory. Okay, and it's bringing it into form, which means words and strategy, because that's what form is. It's like how we logically organize things in order for us to process them, right? In order for us to put them into form, in order for us to do something with it. Okay, and so what we need to understand is that, again, when your mind is in alignment, it is a translator of divine wisdom, of cosmic wisdom, of light. Okay. So When it's in a inverted state, it is going to loop shame, guilt, control, all the what ifs, or your internalized voices, which could be your parents, society, your teachers, or whoever it is who's guiding you and telling you how you need to show up in this reality. When it's in alignment, it organizes and it decodes soul truths into thoughts, into plans, into insight, but it does not create truth. The truth does not come from your mind. Your mind operates in assumptions. It operates in possibilities. It's trying to give you all of the possibilities so that you can figure out what option works for you. Okay? But it doesn't operate in truth. It doesn't create truth. The truth comes from your heart. It comes from your body, or your truth does. Your mind is only supposed to reflect and shape it into a coherent understanding. Okay, so the job of your mind is to name things, is to define things, okay, to name whatever your body and your heart are sensing in your environment. Okay, we take in information through our senses, which is taste, smell. Y'all know the senses. I don't got to go that deep. I mean, do I got to go that deep? Y'all let me know. The senses, okay, physical senses, and then you have spiritual senses. Okay, it takes in that information. And so what the mind is trying to do is help you to understand what your body is sensing. It helps you make meaning and integrate teachings so that you can choose a direction. So think of your mind like a sacred scribe. It isn't meant to lead you. It's meant to interpret the deeper signals that are coming from your body and from your heart, the deeper signals that you get from the experiences that you're having from your environment. Okay, so that's the mind. Now, the heart, when it's aligned, is actually your sacred compass. And it also is the vault for your soul memory. Okay, your heart is where your oversoul comes through. And a lot of times we think that we're supposed to ascend, meaning like leave this physical vessel. That is doing the opposite of what you came here to do. To ascend is to descend. Okay, as above, so below. Okay. To ascend is to descend. Okay, which means you got to anchor in fully. You're not going anywhere. Okay, so the heart, when it's distorted, it becomes guarded, it becomes overgiving, it becomes desperate for love, or it becomes closed off. Okay, and now the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I was working with a client yesterday, and Spirit, me and her are at the heart part of our sessions, and that is probably like month 6, right? And now, as I'm going into the session, Spirit says she's not integrating, and I was like, well, what do you mean? Well, her heart is closed off, and so she's intellectualizing, she's understanding from up here, but your body has to understand too, otherwise I'm not doing you any service. And so we just had to restructure brick by brick to try to see if we can get her heart to open up a little bit. There's so many of us who have a closed heart space because we're trying to protect ourselves from getting hurt. Okay. Hey, Lisa, we're trying to protect ourselves from getting hurt. Okay. But if you are in a closed state, that means that you're not in an open state, and love can't come into a place where all the doors is locked. Right. And love is the very substance of what you are. It's the resonance you're supposed to be in. And so in order for us to reach back towards those Eden codes, the Garden of Eden, bringing that back into this reality, right? We got to open our heart space. So when your heart is distorted, it becomes guarded. Okay. When it's in alignment, though, it is pure feeling and pure knowing. It operates out of truth. It senses truth. Okay. It senses truth before you even have the words to explain it. And that's why sometimes you just know something. You don't know how you know it, but you just know that this is true. That is you sensing from your heart. Okay. It holds emotional memories, including betrayal, longing, ancient grief, and soul love. Why? Because those are usually betrayal, longing, grief, all of that are usually ancient. It's not you. Those are feelings that do not come specifically from this lifetime. And that's why they feel so intense. Okay. So the job of your heart is to guide your direction through feeling, not through logic. If you were trying to logically understand how you feel, it's like cutting open an orange to study an apple. to understand how an apple works, cutting open an orange. Your mind is 10% of who you are. It's the finite version of you. It's only meant to bring things into form. Your mind does not have the capacity to conceive what you are feeling. And that's why presence is important. You have to sit with the feeling and ask your body what it's trying to tell you. Otherwise, you're just going to be more confused if you're trying to understand your body with your mind. Okay? Your heart is meant to guide you, but it happens through feeling. It does not happen through logic. It knows when a yes is a yes, even if your mind is doubting it. Okay? And that's why it's so important to trust your first instinct, because it takes a second for your mind to kick in. So the truth immediately. It's just that your mind doesn't trust the truth. Your mind doesn't have the potential to conceive the truth. Okay. And so, like, how they say, damn, I forgot what I was about to say, y'all. It left me. It doesn't matter. When it comes back, I'll let y'all know. The heart is the seat of your oversoul memory, though, and it's your divine compass. So it is a multidimensional vault of your deepest truths. Your heart is where the memory of your soul lies, okay? Now, the body, when it's aligned, it's a transmutation vessel and a signal receiver, because we're like radios. We're constantly sending energy and receiving energy. And that's where like human design comes in, or oversoul design, or oversoul mapping comes in, because it tells you where you send and where you receive, so you can figure out specifically for you, how do you get you in alignment, right? But you become a transmutation device, because a lot of people don't even know the spiritual side of what your organs do. And that's why it's so important that you don't go and take any of your organs out. They know how to heal themselves. They know how to fix themselves, right? But if you take it out, it's never going to be able to do that thing that it's supposed to do on a spiritual level. A lot of them are alchemy, internal alchemy devices, like your kidneys alchemize fear. Your lungs alchemize betrayal and grief, right? They're alchemy instruments or tools or whatever you want to call them, because we're advanced technology, the most advanced technology there ever was to exist, right? And so your body helps in that process of transmutation, but when it's in a distorted energy, it stores the trauma. It becomes a casket for pain. It reacts in survival mode, and it overrides your truth to stay safe. It overrides your truth to stay safe, because you have all of these emotions, which are memories, stored in your body. When emotions really are supposed to move through you, they're supposed to activate the resonance, but the resonance is not supposed to take up home in your vessel. Okay. And so when your body is in alignment, you transmute this density into light. You turn it back into light, because your body is the most dense version of yourself, right? But your body is also knows more truth than anything. Okay. So it transmutes the density into light, and it carries it through your crystalline nervous system and lights codes in your DNA. Because I don't know if y'all caught my live like a couple weeks ago. I was talking about the crystalline DNA and the crystalline nervous system, right? Which is your spiritual nervous system. They tell you have two nervous systems, you have three, right? Then I talked about the crystalline DNA and how memory and emotions are stored in that DNA. If you haven't caught that, if you didn't catch that live, it's on my YouTube. But your body helps to transmute density, and it carries the crystalline nervous system and light codes in your DNA. And the body does not lie. It shows you what is ready to be seen, what is ready to be transmuted. Okay. So the job of the body is to process what your heart feels and what your oversoul is activating, and your emotions and somatic experiences point to what is unresolved and what needs to be activated. Okay. So the body is the temple through which your soul memory is digested, re-encoded, and expressed, and it transmutes pain into power. Okay. So your mind is the scribe. It's the translator of what your body needs. It's how you put it into form. Okay. Your heart is where the feeling is coming from. It's how you sense truth. And then your body is now that we have sensed this truth, that truth is not just connected to this version of yourself. How do we sit in that resonance, gain the memory from that, and alchemize that through our crystalline DNA and through our crystalline nervous system so that we can feel safe, right? Now, I did a series, which is the one I was talking about, why your mind knows. Why your mind knows, but your body does not feel it yet. You know, it's like you can intellectualize something and understand something with your mind, but for some reason it's not registering. You can logically understand the truth. For example, like, I'm worthy, I didn't do anything wrong, I'm lovable, but your body, that does not mean that your body has fully metabolized the cellular memory that says otherwise. And this is because your body needs more than just an affirmation. It needs integration, which happens through you sitting in presence, because you need the information that's within the emotion, because the emotion is a memory key. Okay. Your soul memory must move through all three layers of you to be fully transmuted, which means your mind, your heart, and your body. They're a unit. They work together. Okay. Until the emotion is felt, acknowledged, and released, the memory remains stored in your somatic vault. Okay. And so integration is key. And y'all know, I don't like to leave y'all without practices and stuff that y'all can put into practice. Okay. And so how do we unify the mind, body, and the heart? First, you need to feel. Feel first, think later. Do not try to solve anything with your mind. Okay. Your mind is a translator. Do not try to solve problems with your mind. It's just going to cause fog, confusion, dizziness, insomnia, exhaustion, frustration, anger. Okay. You need to feel into it, which means you need to sit with it. Let your heart name what you feel without judgment. So that means you also cannot treat any emotion like it's a bad emotion, because there are no bad emotions. They're all trying to explain something to you. They're all trying to show you something that you are not seeing with your mind, because it takes a second for your mind to register things. And so your body is 90% of who you are. It's where your wisdom comes from. It comes from the inside. Your mind is only 10% of who you are. Okay. So you need to sit with it and don't judge the feeling. Welcome it in. Name it out loud. Say what you are feeling without shame, without guilt, without any of that. Say what you're feeling out loud so that you can sit present with that emotion. You know, I feel abandoned. I feel hurt. I feel betrayed. Okay. Let that be true for you without you trying to fix anything. Okay. Let that be true to you without you trying to fix anything. Say it out loud. And then let your body speak. Ask your body, where is this showing up in my body? Where do I feel it? I did that the other day intuitively with my client. I said, well, where do you feel this? I feel it's grief. Where do you feel it? Well, I feel it in my heart, but now I feel it in my throat. I used to feel it in my heart, but now I feel it in my throat. This is where it should be. If it's up here, you're refusing to express how you feel. Because this is how you make things known, your thoughts known in this reality. It's through here. This is how you manifest your thoughts into this reality. You're refusing to do that. And so now it's just trapped in your body. Right? So ask your body, where do I feel this? And then you need to move. You need to breathe. You need to shake so that you can release the stagnant energy. You are moving, dancing, all of that is how you channel down energy. That's how you move stagnant energy out so you can channel down new energy. Okay, so you need to move your body, because if it's stagnant in that area, it just means that there's no expansion happening. It's fully contracted. So you need to heat it up, because what happens when you heat something up, it expands, which means run in place, dance, move, jump rope, whatever the hell you got to do. Because that heats you up from the inside. Because that's really what a calorie is. When they say you burning calories, that's why they call it burning calories. You're just heating up the fat enough for it to dissolve. You're heating up the stagnant energy enough for it to dissolve. So you need to move, you need to shake, and then use your mind as the translator again. Once you have felt it and you've moved the emotion, ask your mind to name what the lesson is. What was this trying to teach me? What did I learn from this? Don't focus on the details of what happened, the people that was involved. You supposed to be my mama, you supposed to be my daddy. Release the identities of all those people. Start treating people like energy. Okay, take away their identity, because if you still saying, well, that's my mom, there's a certain set of rules that society says, if this is your mom, this is how they're supposed to behave. A lot of us don't get moms that fit into that box. And so then we spend the rest of our life trying to push our mom into this version that she has never been. And it causes so much trauma. It causes so much unease. And we're literally fighting to make or shape our mom into something she never was. So we don't even want to enjoy the version that's in front of us, or two, make the decision to leave that motherfucking version because it's hurting us. So take away the identities. Don't focus on the people because they don't matter. They were a holographic trigger. They were only meant to trigger you so that you could feel the emotion, so that you can sit with the emotion. What is it trying to teach you? And then you need to journal. Why? Because emotional alchemy requires two things: presence, feeling the emotion, sitting present with the emotion, not judging it, seeking to understand it. And then you need to take it from the inside out, because that's what alchemy is taking it from one state to another. Take it from the inside and bring it out. You know how they say Jesus turned water into wine? Water is emotions. He turned it into wine, wisdom. Because what is wine? You take a grape, right? You ferment it, and over time it becomes wine. And wine is something that just gets better with age, right? The longer that you live, the longer that you have experiences, the deeper your truth becomes. That's what water into wine was talking about. It's about the wisdom in it. What is it trying to teach you? Then you need to write it. You need to either journal, because you need to put it, when you take it from the inside out, you need to put it somewhere, because it's in your vessel right now. You need another vessel so that you can move it into another vessel. Okay. That looks like journaling. That looks like therapy. That looks like talking to your friends. That looks like art. You need to change it into something else. You need to put it into something else. And so write, speak, or create from that truth. Okay. And then you need to witness the loop with compassion. Don't beat yourself up about it, because that version of yourself that, I don't know, say you were experiencing a lot of anger and you was a menace to fucking society. I was. This is my truth. Okay. And I was just trying to learn how to communicate, but I only communicated in the way that I knew best, which was anger and violence. Right? When I look back at that version, there are things that I hated about that version of myself. But when I look back at it, I'm proud of that version, because at least she fucking did something. You know, I understood that I was uncomfortable and I was tired of being silent and being ran over and being unseen and unheard and all of these things. And so I tried to do something different. Okay. So you got to look back at the loop with compassion. Okay. Some questions you can ask yourself is, when the mind begins to spiral, what is this protecting me from? Okay. Because there's something underneath that, an unmet need that you need to look at, and then shift gently and say, and ask, what's the truth now? Okay. What's the truth now? So the steps to that is, one, you need to feel before you think. Okay. Then you need to let your body speak. Where am I feeling this? Then you need to move. You need to shake it out. Then use your mind as a translator. What is the lesson? And then witness every area of your life where you are looping that same thing with compassion. What was I trying to protect myself from? What's true for me now that I didn't see back then? Okay. For me, when I was in that angry state, what was true is that I felt misused. I felt underappreciated. And the reason was because I was people pleasing, because I didn't have boundaries, because I didn't know how to speak up for myself. Right. And so what's true for me now is I need to be in relationships that have reciprocity. I need to be in relationships, or I need to be in situations or understand sacred exchange. There's give and take in relationships, and it has to go both ways. Otherwise, I'm going to feel underappreciated and misused. I need to learn how to tell people no and stop doing stuff out of obligation and out of duty, and only do the things that I truly want to do. Otherwise, I'm going to feel used up. Right? That's what's true for me now. And so you want to reflect after that. And so mastering the mind as a divine translator means that it does not mean conquering or dominating the mind, because I feel like that's such an egoistic way of looking at it. It's like, we need to conquer this. We need to, fight it into submission. It don't work like that. Okay. When you can get your mind working as a translator, your heart working as the compass, and your body is the vessel of transmutation, okay, we can return the Edenic frequency, because we think Eden was a place. Eden was not a place. It was a resonance that we all were at. We were at a resonance of love, a resonance of paradise. Okay. So in order for us to do that, we got to understand that it really isn't about mastering the mind. We don't need to master it, meaning like conquer it, dominate it, force it into submission. We need to see it fully for what it is. It's a scribe. It's an interpreter of what the body feels and what the heart knows. Okay. When it's in trauma, it's conditioning and it's fear. Okay. When we started experiencing trauma, it became a place of conditioning and fear, which means that your mind started sitting on the throne, and it had no business being on that throne. Your finite version, your restricted and limited version started sitting on the throne. Okay? So what we got to do, instead of trying to master the mind, we got to treat the mind like it's sacred again. Like, stop treating the mind like it's our fucking op. It's not. And we just got to dethrone that motherfucker. Because we put it in a place where it does not deserve to be. And we can see this in society, right? Because the mind is the version of you that's activity. It's do. You have to perform. You have to be perfect, right? It's the part of us that puts things into form. The masculine. We put the masculine on the throne, and he should not be there. Okay? The masculine energy, which is the mind, is the part that's logical, strategic, analytical. Okay? So we got to treat the mind like it's sacred again, but we got to make sure that we're not silencing it, because you don't want to silence the mind. I think a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, I'm meditating, but my mind is never silent. It was never supposed to be silent. Silence is not the goal. Okay? The goal for us is to observe the patterns without becoming them. We need to realize that we are not the thoughts. We are not the thing that is looping. We're the thing that's watching the thing that is looping. And so we need to observe the patterns without internalizing them and becoming them, or saying, this is my truth. Now I need to move through my life with this internalized belief system that don't belong to me, right? We need to observe it. And then we need to ask, whose voice is this? Because 9 times out of 10, that voice, when you in an internal battle, right? You in an internal battle. I'll ask my clients, I'll be like, okay, well, who in your life criticized you and said that these things that you're saying to yourself, who else in your life said that? Well, my mom, well, my dad. Half the time, it's not even your fucking voice, but you heard it for so long that now you used to it being there. Now you're doing it to yourself, right? And so ask, whose voice is this? Do I actually believe this? That's what it means to have awareness of your thoughts. Do I actually even believe in this? Is this actually aligned with who I am right now? Right? Is this mine to keep carrying? Is this mine to continue to carry? And so what I'll do in mentorship is I'll give them a negative self-talk tracker, and I'll say, what are you saying to yourself every day? I want you to write it down, and then every time it comes up, check it. Right? And then once you do that, now you got to figure out a way to nurture yourself. Is that actually what you believe? If it is what you believe, and you don't like the thought, what would you like to experience instead? But you need to nurture yourself around it. Okay. And then you got to train the mind. It's not about mastering it. You have to retrain it to be in the position that it's supposed to be in. Right. So then you have to train the mind to serve the heart, not override it. Because what's happening is we living from our mind. Right? We're trying to think our way through things, but you can't think your way through feeling, because those are two different energies. Your thoughts is its own consciousness. It's electric. It moves fast. It helps you to get things done. But your feeling is water. It's slow. It's magnetic. It attracts. Okay. Your mind chases. Your feelings attract. right? And so we got to train your mind to serve your heart, not override it, which means redirecting it with loving authority. Thank you, because you got to acknowledge what's happening. Thank you for that thought, but we're going to choose a different path now. I appreciate you for the awareness and the possibility, but we're going to choose another path now, right? So each time your mind is in a spiral, you need to pause and you need to ask, what emotion am I avoiding beneath this thought? Why is this coming up? Whose voice is this? Do I still believe this? What memory is this thought trying to protect me from? Because 9 times out of 10, if you keep looping a feeling or looping a thought, there's a memory there, okay, that you're trying to avoid feeling. Like when you feel, say for instance, when people come and press you or question you about something, if you have been the type of kid who was used to being attacked without being asked what happened, like your parents just assume that this adult is the one is telling the truth and you're lying, right? You don't get a chance to voice your opinion. You're going to assume that that person is doing that same thing to you. And so the moment that they come up to you and they press you or they put you back in that energy, you're going to respond based off of what you think is going to happen, because you're trying to think your way through it and you're trying to avoid feeling powerless. That's what you're trying to avoid feeling, because you felt powerless as a kid because you didn't have a voice. And so you as an adult say, bitch, you ain't about to come over here and make me feel powerless. I see what you're doing. And you try to protect yourself from that feeling. Right? But you didn't even give that person an opportunity. You didn't even give that person an opportunity because you don't know what they was going to say because you cut them off trying to protect yourself. You're moving too fast. Right? And so what memory is it protecting me from? And then beneath that, okay, you need to breathe into your body and let your awareness drop into your heart. Okay. Now your heart is the compass. Like I said, it's the temple of an eternal knowing. Like all the versions of you, what all the versions of you know. Okay, eternal knowing. So the heart is not just an emotional center. It is a vault of oversoul memory, a compass of truth, and a doorway to the field of unity. It's how you bring things together, right? Because your heart is the neutral point. It brings your spirit and the matter together, your body and your mind together. Your heart is the gateway. It's the portal that connects the two. Okay, so it speaks in sensations, not a language. Okay, your mind speaks in language. Your heart speaks in sensations. Okay, specifically longing, ache, love, grief, reverence. And these are all sacred maps. I already talked to y'all about longing and grief, right? Grief is telling you that you love somebody. It's how you re-soften your heart to let love back in. Okay, longing, your desires are not being met. There's a desire that you're not looking at. And it could be because you're afraid to look at that. Okay, anger, you need a boundary. They're maps. Okay, so to use your heart as a compass, you have to let it feel everything without trying to fix or numb it. Like you have to literally let yourself feel it. Okay, let it break wide open. Cry if you need to, but it needs to crack open so that your soul is revealed to you, because your soul cannot speak to you if you're trying to stop yourself from feeling the feeling the feeling that is trying to use to speak to you through. Okay, because your heart and your soul speaks through sensation. You have to feel the feeling because that is the language that's being used. Okay, the language that your mind uses is thoughts. They're electric. The language that your heart uses is sensation. It's feeling. And so you trying to understand this language with this language, them is two different. That's like trying to understand French by studying Spanish. They are two different languages. Okay, let me say French by studying English, because French and Spanish low-key is sister cousins. Okay, but y'all get what I'm saying, right? Emotion is a language. It is how your soul speaks to you. Okay. So in order for you to understand the language, you have to sit in the language. You have to drop into the language. You have to let the language in. Okay. It speaks through your longings, even when it doesn't make sense to you. When you are longing for something, your soul is trying to show you something. It's trying to tell you something, but you have to sit with it long enough to get the information. So the truth about your heart is that your heart is in full resonance when there is no confusion. When you have confusion at play, your heart is not in resonance. Okay? And I'm going to talk about confusion in a second, because there's a couple different types of confusion. And I think if I break down the types of confusion, it'll make sense which is showing up. Okay? But confusion is the voice of the split between your mind and your heart. What you know and what you think you know are fighting. What you actually know and what you think you know are fighting. And you trying to let your mind rule the show when your body should be the one overriding your mind. Okay? Peace arises when your mind yields to your heart's knowing, meaning you can still have the doubt, you can still have the fear, you can still have those possibilities swimming up there, but you need to say to yourself, thank you, but we're going to choose another path now. I got this feeling in my chest and I'm going to try using that one now. Right? One thing that helps me when it comes to this split in the mind and the body is taking a piece of paper out. Like literally, you got to get it out of you. That's how you alchemize something. Take a piece of paper out, write a line down the middle, hold court. What is this voice saying? What is that voice saying? Which one of these motherfuckers is scared? Right? The one that's scared, exit out. The one that's not scared is going to be you. It's going to operate in your knowing. It's probably going to be what you want. So then you need to look at whatever you list out. What do I want most? Because that needs to be your focus. Okay. The body is a vessel of transmutation. It is a sacred cauldron. Okay. It's not just a physical form. It is a cosmic processing unit and a living alchemic chamber. It alchemizes things. It transmutes things. You know, when they say that you're a melanite crystalline being, melanin is a crystalline structure, okay? And it refracts, okay? Which means it transmutates, okay? Crystal, same thing. Crystals refract light. They transmute light into something else, okay? And so every pain, every tightness, every craving, every illness, every fatigue is a code, a memory being surfaced that needs to be transmuted. And if you do nothing about the memory and then you keep holding on to it, that area that's holding that memory in your body is going to become so stagnant that it creates something in the physical world where something is in the spiritual world, which looks like cancer, which looks like kidney disease, which looks like any of the diseases, right? Because they're all related to the chakra system, which is a part of that crystalline nervous system, the spiritual nervous system, okay? So your body transmutes by feeling and allowing the energy to move through you, because emotions are energy in motion. They have to move through you, okay? But also witnessing the pattern without judgment, because your mind, it wants to judge things when it's in the trauma. Because your mind is your ego. It wants to judge things. It wants to separate itself from things because it's trying to protect itself. And then you also need to rest. It's so much shame in resting in this society, because we are taught that men have to do more, women have to give more, and nobody can complain. And it's go, 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 go. You don't have time for anything but producing, right? And so we feel shame when we have to rest. We hear our mama saying, you lazy, you this, you that. But resting is a natural part of life. That's literally how your body communicates to you in the stillness. It integrates in the stillness, in rest. How many times have you been sore and you go to sleep and you wake up and you feel better? Right? You go to sleep, you got to sleep off that cold. Rest is a pivotal part of life. It's the other part of the cycle. Part of the cycle we keep ignoring. When you in your mental, mind, masculine energy, it's activity, energy. But if you want to get into the other side of you, which is 90% of who you are, your feminine energy, rest. Because we go through activity cycles and rest cycles. We just entered the feminine cycle September 22nd. We'll be in it until April. Okay? The rest cycle, the integration cycle, the stillness cycle. Okay? Your body holds ancient information. It holds memories from lineages, from past lives, from sacred vows, from karmic loops. And the crystalline nervous system and the DNA receive and emit frequencies constantly. And so when you feel emotionally overwhelmed, it's because the old you is standing in the way while your new you is trying to come in. And you need to breathe so that you can open up space in your crystalline nervous system so that it can settle. Your sensations are messages. Your resistance is protection. Your illnesses are intelligence. And so we got to look at them like that because they're telling us something. It's giving us a map and it's showing us where we need to do work. Okay, what we don't understand is that you're not broken, you are just looping. And I talked about that in a video that I made not too long ago. I was talking about how there was a fracture in the Milky Way, which dropped the dimensional veil on the high density quadrant of the Milky Way, which is Earth. And so Earth is in a looping. It's been looping, right? You're looping too because you're an inhabitant of Earth, living on Earth, and we just end up matching the energy of what's happening around us. And so you're looping. You're not cursed, you're not disconnected, and you're not unworthy. You're looping in an emotional imprint that has not yet been alchemized. We have not felt it all the way through. So if us as humanity need to understand one truth is that every pain is a memory calling us home, and every trigger is a teacher asking to be touched. It's trying to teach you something. So you got to, I say all the time that a sign of good health is flexibility. You have to be open. You have to be willing to try. You have to take on a curious mindset because when you reject things, when the emotion comes up and you reject it, you're closing the access point. And then you come to somebody like me and you're like, Taja, I'm so disconnected. I don't understand. It's because you close, your soul's trying to speak to you and you say no, because society told you that feeling is bad or it's weakness, or you're too sensitive. When you came here to be more aware, which means you came here to be more sensitive, your sensitivity is how you get to know yourself. So we have to stop avoiding our suffering and start to alchemizing it. We have to stop seeking answers outside of ourselves and turn inwards to our somatic vaults that are within us, meaning we got to sit in the uncomfortableness of our emotions and our feelings. Okay, but we also have to stop fearing the dark, the grief, and the rage, because I told you grief is softening you. Rage is telling you where you need boundaries. The dark is where you are. The real you is in the darkness, because the 90% of who you are is darkness. Masculine energy is the light. It's electric. Is electricity not light? It's electric. But in the darkness is the full you, seen and unseen. Okay? So when we know that transmutation is not destruction, it becomes remembrance. It's how we remember. And once we remember, we can return fully. But what we're trying to do is get our mind to understand what our body already understands. Our body is the map. It's the key. And it's not who you were, but who you are beneath all of the distortion, the trauma, the unprocessed grief, because you're not just looping this lifetime, you're looping from previous lifetimes. All of your lifetimes are just, you're looping it into now. And that's why when I say, when you clear your DNA, you clear it for the lineage that came before you and the lineage that came after you, but also the versions of you that have already existed and the versions that will exist. Right? You don't have to go back and fix the past. You need to fix this version of you. Because when you fix this version of you, you do fix the past, because all the timelines are happening simultaneously. So what you fix now sends a ripple effect across every single version that you've been. And you bring them back into a state of wholeness. So darkness is not the absence of light. It is the womb of truth before birth. It is where the truth lies. It's where the soul stores what it's not yet ready to feel. It's where your deepest power, your rawest memory, and your oldest grief are hidden from you. So you need the darkness. You cannot fear the darkness, because that distorts your vision. It distorts your vision if you fear the darkness. Instead of seeing dark as this thing we need to fear, understand that darkness is fertile ground. If we're talking about a womb, it's fertile. Okay? It's not dangerous. It's nothing that we need to avoid or judge or lock away, because then that's how we stay and remain fragmented. It's where everything is, okay? So what we can't see in the dark, what we can't see because we're afraid of the darkness, is our original grief. People ask me all the time, well, Taja, how do you know this? How do you know that? I've created enough space in my body to descend fully into this reality. But if you got trauma and stuff in the way, you cannot descend fully. So I know what happened in my past lives. Why? Because I've taken on a curious approach to life. You know, so the original grief, the grief of being separated from source, that is everybody's original grief. We were separated from source when that dimensional veil dropped and we decided to come here. And that's why we don't remember ourselves or our soul mission or our soul blueprint. You know, if you need help with that, again, I offer those services through the flame lineage readings. But that's why we don't remember. We were separated. And so there's grief that we feel because we know we're supposed to be connected to something, but we just don't know with our mind what it is. Right? We're also separated from our divine counterparts. We long for connection. We remember what it's like to fully be met. And so a lot of us who are in these martyr loops, it's because we remember what true love feels like. Divine love, to be fully met. And it's not like a fantasy, romantasy shit that they be selling us. It's not like that. It's about you fully being in alignment with yourself, that person being fully in alignment with themselves, and y'all just get each other. And through y'all getting each other, y'all help yourself grow and evolve. We remember divine union. And so the lover girls, ain't nothing wrong with you being a lover girl. You remember something, but you're trying to show people out of desperation instead of just being the embodiment of the thing so that they can witness it. Right? But also from the wholeness of our oversoul, the full embodied version of us. Because they've made us shrink. We know that we're supposed to be more. We know we have access to more, but they keep saying, well, that's a coincidence. That's a phenomenon. No, that's not right. And because we've been conditioned since we have literally been being conditioned since we got here. First through the church, then through the school. First through the church, then through the school. They say you're not special. You like everybody else. Everybody is the same, but then they treat you as if you're not the same. It's ridiculous. But that teaches us to seek external validation outside of ourselves. Why? Because they grading you. They grading you and they say, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. If you don't reach an A or a B, you're not good enough. And matter of fact, we want to know who the best is. So we got a valedictorian and then we got a second best. But you know, if you ain't first, you last. Why? Because it affects how we view ourselves and our worth. And so now we're constantly relying on somebody outside of us to tell us that we're good enough. Things like English or writing, that shit is subjective. If your teacher don't like what you have to say or your point of view, do you think that they're going to give you a good fucking grade? And do you think that that's reflective of the work? They could be the best motherfucking work you ever put out there. And they're like, yeah, no, I don't have that experience. I don't have the same experience as you, so I can't relate to that. Nah, this ain't good enough. Right? And so we know that we're supposed to be more, but we don't know how much more. We have no clue about that because we've been disconnected. It's buried in the dark, though. Our lifetimes of abandonment, betrayal, banishment, not as punishment, but as initiation into self-reclamation. You are supposed to reclaim who you are. But in order for you to reclaim who you are, you need to go through the pain as like a threshold. The things that you've been through like a threshold. Because every single point where you've been betrayed, where you've been banished, where you've been exiled, where you've been abandoned, it fractured you. And you're trying to retrieve the fragments. Okay? Also, the first time we lost our voice, because every single one of us at some point has lost our voice. So in every lineage, every oversoul, there was a moment in time where we knew the truth, we spoke it, and we were silenced because of distortion. So in the dark is the memory of being exiled for your wisdom. And so a lot of us don't want to speak up about what we know. A lot of us don't want people to know the intelligence that we hold because we fear that we're going to be punished for it. We hid it back then so that we could survive, and that's still affecting us in this lifetime. So we need to go back and then we need to look at that. And also the power we disowned. We are more than what we have been told. Period. We are more than what we have been told. So in the dark, it's not just trauma, it's the raw creation power, your intuition, your rage, your magic, your erotic fire, your rebellion, your divine fury. All of that, all of these things that we were taught that were unsafe or dangerous for us, they're in the dark. Okay? They told us it was unsafe. It was dangerous. It's too much. We're unlovable. All of those things exiled us and exiled our powers, exiled our intuition, our raw creative force. So your fear isn't of the dark itself. Your fear is not of the dark itself. It is of who you will become when you reclaim what you have buried there. Because it's going to look completely different than all of these identities that you've attached yourself to, which means you're going to have to break open, which means you're going to have to release these versions of yourself that you thought were your truth. That means also your belief systems that you thought were true. And you know, people like comfortability because they've been conditioning us our entire life towards comfortability. And it does not feel comfortable to fully become yourself. It means everything that you've been taught is a lie. It means you have to have an open mind because what you think you know, you don't. And people don't like that. They also don't like that they've been duped. But you have. And that's the truth of the matter. So you just got to accept it. Acceptance breeds willingness. Acceptance breeds willingness. Okay? So fear is an inherited frequency. It was inherited. We inherited it. It lives in the body from thousands of years of programming. Not just this version of you, all of the versions of you. Religious shame, ancestral persecution, soul level fragmentation. So you're not afraid of the dark. You're afraid of what remembering is going to cost you. What will I lose? Will I lose love? Will I destabilize what I've already built? Will I change beyond recognition? Your soul remembers the cost of remembrance because it's already done it before. So the answer to the question is yes, because you're not the version of yourself that you're supposed to be. You're only a fragment of who you are supposed to be. So if you allow yourself to sit in the dark, breathe in silence, and feel what arises, your original name is going to come back. That is your core frequency. The memory of your mission, what you came here to do. I'm doing mine right now. And it feels damn good to finally be in my purpose. Okay? The map back to your temple. The exact gifts that you were meant to offer other people. The voice you silenced lifetimes ago. Right? It's going to start whispering to you that you are safe now. You can bring me home. Bring me home. I was terrified of sharing some of the information that I get on the internet and share because people are going to call me crazy. People are going to think I'm off my rocker, say I need medication and all of these things. That is not true. I just don't live life according to societal standards because it's never felt true for me. I can feel truth through my bones, through my teeth, through my body. You can too. That's why they give you half truths. Because they give you like a breadcrumb because then it's like, yeah, this must be true. No, it's partially true. It's half truths. Because they know truth can be felt, but the truth is much deeper than what you understand it to be. They don't have access to the full truth because they live in a limited state. They're on a path of service to self. You can't get access to full truth if you're on a path of service to self because you think the heart space is not useful. You think love is not useful. You think emotions are weakness. You could never gain access to the full you through that. You need to be able to feel. You also need to be able to feel to create. And that's why a lot of them mimic. They mimic because they don't think it's useful. That's why they steal. That's why you see billionaires like what happened with Facebook. Tom. They came in and just stole his shit and hijacked it. Elon Musk with Tesla. He didn't come up with that. There was 2 men or 3 men who came up with that. He came in and he stole it. Why? Because he can only mimic. They don't see the pathway to yourself as useful. Okay, so you're not here to avoid the dark. You are here to walk into it with your flame fully lit so that you can retrieve what other people left behind or the other versions of yourself have left behind and remember what the world has forgot. And then you can bring it back and we can have conversations like this over a cup of coffee. Okay? The dark is not your enemy. It was your temple. It was your temple. And now it's waiting for you to return, meaning the unseen world. The unseen version of yourself is 90% of who you are. You're operating out of the 10%. And so let's talk about fear, because fear is a protective signal. It's also not the enemy. It's the frequency of separation, though. It causes separation, right? Because you fear being like them. Now, I could never do that, right? You fear failure. So, oh no, I got to do this, and this because I fear. I don't ever want to be broke again. I don't want to be like my mama, right? And so it causes you to make all these fear-based decisions based off of what you think you need to do to survive, which overrides what you truly actually want. It's the frequency of separation. So it's created when your system registers a possible threat to your survival identity, connection, or soul memory. But in truth, fear is a messenger. Okay? It's a messenger, it's not a master, right? But when you living in your mind and you have unprocessed trauma, fear becomes the master. It becomes the ruler. We live in a kingdom of fear, right? It arises when you approach something that once hurt you or something powerful enough to change you. So it either hurt you in a previous timeline or in this lifetime, or it's going to change you. Okay? There's a couple types of fear. There's biological fear, which is instinctual fear. It comes from your womb. It comes from your ancestors. This is the origin of this is the nervous system and the primal brain, and the purpose is survival and safety. Like pulling your hands away from a hot stove. That's instinctual. Okay? The fear is immediate, it's reactive, it's protective. But there's also psychological fear, which is conditioned. We got a lot of psychological fear. It can come from your past experiences, traumas, ancestral memory as well. Purpose is protection through learned avoidance. Examples are going to be fear of speaking your truth because you're punished for it in a past life or in your childhood. This fear is patterned, is looping through your memory. And then there's spiritual fear, threshold fear, which is soul contract, karmic initiation, oversoul mission fear. The purpose is a veil before remembrance. Right? Can you actually hold this remembrance? Examples, feeling fear before stepping into your gifts, into union, into initiation. This fear often mimics resistance, but it's really a sacred signpost that's saying, what you seek is on the other side of this threshold. Are you ready for it? It's asking you a question. Is this what you actually want? But fear is not weakness. It's not proof that you're failing. It's not a blockage to be eradicated or anything like that. It's the echo of something sacred asking to be witnessed by you. It's like a siren call towards your next reclamation. It's the veil between you and your power that was once too much for you to hold, meaning you were probably punished for it. You were exiled. You were betrayed. You were abandoned. And it might not be of this lifetime. Right? Because fear is something that is inherited, meaning you keep taking it with you from past lives. And that's why in the flame lineage readings, tier 2 and 3, we talk about that past life vow, right? Because there's something you're carrying from a past life that is in your fucking way right now. Okay. How your body holds fear is through your nervous system, but also through your womb, especially unprocessed lineage trauma or memory of separation. That's going to be in your womb because your womb is like your ancestral vault. Okay. But in your jaw, in your throat as well, the fear of speaking or being seen, right? Your back, fear of betrayal and abandonment. Somebody turned their back on you. Yeah. Abandonment, betrayal. So back, but your knees and your ankles as well. This fear of moving forward or standing in your truth. So the crystalline nervous system picks up soul signals before your mind can translate them. Your mind is slow. It's the slow part of you. It moves fast, but it's actually slow in picking up on what's happening in your external environment. That's your crystalline network that's doing that, which is, or nervous system, that's doing that. Now, when we suppress fear, the body begins to store it as tension, as illness, and as numbness. But when we allow it to be felt, we unlock its deeper intelligence. The real job of fear is a guardian of the gate of transformation. Its truest role is not to block you, but to pause you so that you can make sure that you are choosing something consciously. It whispers to you, are you ready to become something new? Are you willing to lose the version of you that needed this fear? Right? Because one thing that I tell my clients all the time is, the old you is not the new you, but the problem is that the new you never went and looked back at the old you's problems to figure out if you need to continue to carry that baggage. Because when your circumstances change, you no longer need that fear. Your fear was very real for that version of you because that's what you were trying to survive, but you survived it now. Why are you still carrying it with you? Right? That's what fear is saying. Like, you need to release this so you can step into the next version of you. So if you say yes, fear becomes an alchemic fire, and what once imprisoned you becomes your initiator. So the truth that you forgot, and if you remember, it would change everything, is fear is not the end for you. It is an echo of your becoming. You're becoming something new, which is scary because we live in an environment that conditions us towards comfortability. So if all of humanity knew this, we would stop fighting fear. We would stop diagnosing ourselves with all these fucking disorders, and we would hold space for it and let it become our guide home to ourselves. It is only telling you, hey, you brushing up on something new. You're getting very close. Is this what you really want? Okay. The mind is the first guardian at the gate of dark. The mind is the boundary. That's what we need to surrender. That's what we need to acknowledge. That's what we need to dethrone in order for us to get into the dark. Okay. The liminal space where the unknown lives is the dark. Okay. Where shadows wait to be embraced and where soul memory can be retrieved. But the mind must not be destroyed. It can only be dethroned. It was never meant to rule. The masculine was never meant to rule. It was meant to translate. Okay. So the mind is a gateway. The mind is a gateway. So we need to use it as a gateway. When it exhausted its throne, it becomes overprotective, analytical, fearful of the irrational, things that might not ever happen, and addicted to stories and loops. It becomes a false sovereign that guards the inner realms with logic, trying to decode what only the heart, the body, and the soul can truly understand. It's trying to decode what it does not even have the language to understand. Okay? But when we dethrone it, it becomes the scribe, not the sovereign. It records the symbols. It gives us names for things in the unseen realm, right? It holds the map, but it's not the compass. It holds the map, but it's not the compass. The compass is the heart. You have to feel into things, right? The gateway is the body. The power is in the dark. And so the dark is not evil, it's unseen potential. It's where your unspoken gifts are buried. It's where your fractured soul parts wait to be returned. Your ancient initiation echoes through time, and your shadow selves ask to be reclaimed as allies. Like the parts of you that you shame or you feel embarrassed about. I'll tell you what, I was thinking about this morning. The parts of me that I used to hate would be like my intellect or me just knowing stuff. I feel like people used to shame me for that. Like, oh, you're a know-it-all, oh, you're this, and that. And I'm like, no, I don't see how you don't see the pattern of this. But I didn't realize that I was picking up on something that other people don't pick up on. Also, being able to feel everything. I fucking hated that shit. I was like, oh my gosh, why do I have to feel things so deeply? My goodness, give me a break. I'm in an environment full of people who refuse to feel, and I feel everything. Those are the things, though. Those are the things that now, as I fully embody myself, are the best things about me. So you got to go into the dark and you have to retrieve those parts, because I didn't ever not like those parts. I didn't like that other people didn't like those parts. So I felt exposed. I felt naked. I felt like I needed to hide them. Right? Okay. So the problem with your mind walking into the darkness is that it tries to remain dominant in a place that it don't even speak the language. So it has to be quieted, it has to be humbled, and it has to be brought into sacred service. And when you can dethrone your mind, you can hear your real voice. Not the protector, but presence. Okay, so suddenly your emotions are not a problem anymore. They're messengers. Confusion is not failure, but it's a liminal guardian. Dark is not empty, it's full of codes, and you remain the part of yourself that banished logic. Okay, so your mind in the shadow side is going to overanalyze, it's going to loop, it's going to fear mystery. But when it's in alignment, it names truths, it maps the path, and it serves insight, meaning information and insight working together. They work together, right? Your heart, when it's out of alignment, it closes in pain, it avoids deeper feeling. But when it's in alignment, it guides you to resonance, clarity, and truth. Your body, when it's out of alignment, stores trauma, reacts out of survival. But when it's in alignment, it transmutes, channels, anchors, multidimensional memory. So together, they're a trinity of transmutation. But your heart has to be the lead. Your feeling has to be the lead, because your feeling is how your heart communicates to you. Your heart and your soul. Your heart is the vault to your soul. So you have to feel first, because that's where your truth is coming from, the feeling. The body needs to express it. Your mind needs to record it. So that if you have another experience like this, your mind is like, hey, you remember this one time? Okay. So something you can say: I release the mind from its throne. I seek the heart in sovereignty. I let the body speak what has never been heard. I walk into the dark as one who remembers. I do not fear mystery. I am born from it. I release the mind from its throne. I seek the heart in sovereignty. I let the body speak what was never heard. I walk into darkness as one who remembers. I do not fear mystery. I am born from it. Okay. Oh, I got a client in like 20 minutes. I don't think I'm going to get through this whole thing. We will see. Okay. All right. So let's talk about confusion. Okay. Because I often say confusion is a no. If you're feeling confused about something, it doesn't feel good. And so no, choose another option, right? Yes, that is true. But confusion is a little bit more layered than that. Meaning like, yes, that works for confusion when you're in a fog or a haze or you're trying to figure something out or justify staying in a situation that you shouldn't be staying in. Yes, that works. But there's also another part of confusion as a threshold indicator that we need to talk about, okay? Because sometimes fog is sacred when you're in that liminal space. And it relates to whether you need to spiral or anchor. Okay, so confusion often feels like fog or friction, lack of clarity, or emotional dissonance, meaning like you feel disconnected, right? In these states, it is often a no for you, okay? A no to action, a no to overanalyzing, and a no to forcing the why. You don't need to try to figure anything out when you're in this state. The feeling is what matters. And the feeling is that this does not feel aligned. Okay. I guess that's what I've been trying to express to you guys, is that when you're in a confused state, it does not feel aligned to you. Okay. You don't always need to know the mental why of something. The energetic dissonance is the message. The energetic disconnect is the message. So in a way, confusion can be a gift because it's a pause point, it's a pattern disruptor, and it's a threshold guardian. But confusion in the liminal space, for those of us who walk in the liminal space, because there's a lot of us who are threshold keepers, people who walk in between, right? We hold flame codes, we channel soul blueprints, and often experience confusion as an echo from many timelines at once, a frequency overload before integration, a sign that we are between stories, and a call to stillness, not decision. We don't need to figure it out. We need to sit in stillness because we're not seeing something that needs to be released or needs to be processed. Okay. So the liminal space is not a logical space. Okay. It's symbolic, it's non-linear, and it's spiral shaped. So if you try to understand from the mind, confusion just expands. Okay. That's why liminal walkers have to learn to feel through their confusion, not think through it. To sense timing over forcing meaning, right? Something might not be aligned in the timing, right? And then anchor through your body, not extract answers from your mind. And so when confusion is a yes, it's subtle. But sometimes confusion is yes cloaked in fear. Okay. So if something feels both exciting and terrifying, that's a yes. If you know something, but there's still some mystery behind it, that's a yes. Okay. It's resonant, but it's not too big. That's a yes. Confusion sometimes can be a portal. not a rejection. So in that case, the no is not the thing, but the old version of you can't yet hold what is trying to come through, right? Sometimes the old version of you is still there. And so confusion will put you in this space where it's just like, hey, these are the things that you need to look at before we can go forward. Okay. So what we got to understand is our system is highly crystalline and it's flame coded. So that means that our compass is energetic. It's not rational. And so when things don't feel right, your body will often reject it before your mind catches up. But confusion is going to arise because your mind is still looking for a map. And that's when you start to loop, because confusion pulls you into a loop. Right. So when I say you don't need to know the whys, if it doesn't feel good, get the fuck on. That's me demonstrating advanced emotional navigation. But many souls are not going to be ready for that yet. What you need to do instead is meet the confusion in order to remember that they are the compass. Okay. So a reframe that you can use if that doesn't register for you is think of confusion as like a cloak spirit wears to protect the truth that is not ready to be fully seen yet. Sometimes you're not ready to receive. Sometimes clarity would collapse your current identity and cause an identity fracture, and that could be detrimental. Sometimes confusion is a gift of delay and divine fog while your system is reorganizing itself. And so you just need to sit in stillness. Okay. And there are many emotional states that we have misinterpreted or we resist, which delay healing. It delays alignment and oversoul embodiment. Okay. And so we've talked about grief, we've talked about longing, we talked about rage and their sacred purpose, but I want to talk about a couple different ones that can shift our entire soul path. Okay. So the first one is apathy. This is the soul's emergency brake system. It's a halt. Okay. It's often mistaken as laziness or depression, but apathy is soul level shutdown. And it arises when you've overridden your own truth too many times. And your body says, hold up, ho. How many more times are you going to do this? You need to just stop altogether. You're going in the wrong direction. Okay. It also arises when you've abandoned your needs in service to external structures. When you've lost touch with inner joy or your creative flow. So we misunderstand this as us having a lack of drive or willpower failure, but really it's a deep soul purpose before redirection, or it's a deep soul pause before redirection. So what we need to reframe this is what part of me is starving for meaning? And apathy for me comes in a workplace. I can't be in a workplace more than 9 months. I mastered the workplace and then I'm just like, I need something else. I can't do this anymore. And I start to get depressed. Or for me, it's lazy. I don't want to do anything. I do the bare minimum now. Right? That's apathy. Envy. Now, I always say envy is dangerous, and it can be if they're operating in distortion, but envy is not a bad thing. Envy is the compass of suppressed potential. Envy is telling you have suppressed your own potential. Okay? Envy is rarely about wanting what somebody else has. That's what it's rarely about that, but that's the way that they decorate it to us so that we don't want to feel it. Okay? But that's not what it's about. It's a mirror of dormant soul codes that you haven't yet given yourself permission to express. Okay. And so we think it's jealousy and pettiness, but that's not what it is. It's suppressed permission for desire. You have desires that you're refusing to meet. It's suppressed permission for expansion and visibility. And so what you need to ask yourself is, what part of me is knocking for release? Hey, you hear me knocking? Let me in. Shame is another one. Shame is the guardian of the inner temple. Shame isn't just a trauma residue, it's a gatekeeper emotion. So it arises when your inner essence is being dishonored, when it's being masked, or when it's being exiled. And so we think shame is weakness or proof that we're unworthy, when in our reality, it's a message that you're living outside of your own integrity. You're covering your own true voice. Right. And so I tell people, when you feel shame, like I always give this example that if you're in a grocery store and your kid is knocking down all the cereal boxes and you turn around and you yell at them and then somebody shames you for it and you start feeling shame, a lot of times we'll say, well, that makes me a bad mother. And it's like, no, the emotion is a language. It's trying to tell you something. It's telling you that's out of alignment with you. You need to choose another option. That's not how your soul chooses to operate. Choose another option. That's it. It's as simple as that. It don't have to be, I'm a bad mom. That's your mind trying to understand a language it does not understand. Right? And so what shame is trying to ask you is, what truth am I afraid will be rejected? Okay. Disgust. Disgust is an intuitive purifier. Okay. This is a powerful flame lineage indicator. Disgust arises when you are near distortion, falsity, or energetic contamination, whether it's in your food, environment, media, people, or your own choices. And we think it's pickiness. We think it's hypersensitivity, when in all reality, your body-led rejection, what it is body-led rejection of lower frequencies, lower frequency coding. Okay. So you can ask yourself, what distortion am I being shown that my body can see before I do? Doubt. This is called the alchemist cradle. Doubt is not the enemy of faith. It's the womb of clarity. It forces you to question where you're outsourcing truth and to return inwards. And so we think that doubt is blocked progress. No, it actually is. You should take a curious approach to doubt, because a lot of times doubt is you being able to sense logical inconsistencies. You can tell that something is not full here. And so what we do is we usually reject it as, no, that's not true. It's like, we reject it and we say, no, that's not true. I don't believe that. And we just move in the opposite direction, when really what doubt is telling us is, you need to look into this further. You don't know enough. Right. And so it's a soul checkpoint asking, is this still in alignment with me? Right. When you doubt in something like you're trying to go to school and you enroll in esthetician school or something, and then you start having doubts before it, it's probably because you're doing it just because you think you're supposed to be doing it. Right. But on the other side, doubt, when somebody's giving you information and you doubt it, you need to take a curious approach to it. Okay. And so what you can ask yourself is this doubt leading me to deeper discernment or back into old fear? Please stop calling into the live, y'all. All right. Anxiety is a sacred disorganizer. And so anxiety is a sacred disorganizer. And so anxiety is often a frequency mismatch between your current energetic structure and your future timeline. It's not always fear. And sometimes it's momentum trying to move through a constricted system. And so we think it's nervousness or that we're overthinking, but really fast moving soul data is trying to come into your body before your body is ready. That's why you need to breathe. Okay. So you can ask yourself, where's my system resisting a future that already is trying to arrive? And hopelessness is the ego's collapse point. Hopelessness may be the last cry of a false identity before a breakthrough. It arises when the old scaffolding is crumbling, but the new hasn't formed yet. And so we think that this is giving up, and it's not giving up. It's a soul space of surrender before the new architecture lands. Okay. It's before your new purpose lands. And so what identity is no longer sustainable? And then I want to talk about depression and sadness, because I think that these are also two deeply misunderstood things. And they mask sacred initiations of soul descent, memory release, and rebirth. And so depression, the soul's the soul's descent to reclaim lost parts. And so we misunderstand this as mental illness, inertia, chemical imbalance, but really it's a deep oversoul calling inwards to a place that your ego cannot access. Your mind cannot access this place. It's a withdrawal from falsity to protect your inner flame. And so it signals a misalignment between your external life and your soul's true resonance. The body enters a liminal cocoon state to regenerate, like composting old stories. And so it's a spiritual threshold, the death of an identity and the dormancy before emergence happens. Okay. And this is common in like rose violet lineages, black lineages, which a lot of us have. Black and indigenous people have black flame lineages. They're coming to the top right now. Deep indigo, and then opal, which is multidimensional seeing. And these lineages often enter this underworld to retrieve fractured gifts and parts of themselves. And so depression is not always something to be fixed. Sometimes It's something to be honored, to be moved through, and to be midwifed. And so what you need to ask yourself is, what soul part have I been ignoring for so long? Okay. What have I been hiding for so long that it had to silence my entire system just to be heard? Because that's what's happening. It's silencing everything so that you can fully hear, because you just refuse to listen. Okay. What's the truth though? What have I ignored so long? And then sadness is the sacred return to what matters. Sadness is not weakness, it's not heaviness, it's not regression. It's a sacred truth signal that something meaningful was lost, it was dishonored, or it never was fully felt by you. And so sadness asks you, can you be honest about what has touched you? Can you sit with the ache rather than trying to numb it? Can you hold your unmet longings with tenderness instead of shame? So sadness remagnetizes us to what we actually care about. It melts down old barriers. And it's also a gift from your inner child, reminding you of what your heart was built to carry. Right? And so depression's sole purpose is soul descent for repatterning. And the gift that you get is rebirth into aligned architecture. Sadness is honoring lost joy and forgotten desire. And the gift that you get is rekindling of your heart and your values. And so some questions that you can ask yourself for integration when it comes to depression and sadness. For depression, where in my life have I been pretending to be alive while something in me is dying? What identity is collapsing, and what part of me is terrified of who I'll be without it? What part of me still needs stillness, not productivity? Right? For sadness, what am I grieving that no one else can see? I see sadness in so many children. And so many children. It used to be my whole brand was sadness. What ache have I hidden because I thought it made me weak? What loss shaped me in a beautiful way, even if it still hurts me? Right? So the deeper truths that you need to understand. Hold on, let me tell this client, give me like 5-10 minutes. Hold on, who is my client? Okay, look, I'm doing a lesson right now, but I will be on later though. I will be on around. Damn it, Gina, who do I have? Okay, hold on, y'all, because I want to finish this message real quick. And so I just need to tell this person to give me a second. All right. Okay, y'all. Let me hurry up. Okay, so the deeper truth that we need to understand is that okay. So here's some deeper truths that we need to understand. Your body is not a cage. It is a stargate. You are a walking portal, whether you know it or not. Okay. Remember how I say that choices open up different timelines, right? Well, those choices come through what we witness in our environment, right? And so if you come across somebody who wakes you up to something you never even knew was possible, now they bring this choice that you did not know that you was available to you to your forefront, right? And so when I say that you're a portal, through you showing up as you are and you living life fully alive, you show other people that that's possible. And you're a portal that they can walk through. They choose what you choose. They follow your lead, and it leads them to the version of themselves that they knew that they were from the beginning, or the version of themselves they knew they wanted to be. You know, what you like in other people is what exists already inside of you. Okay. And so you're a stargate. Most people still operate as if the body is a prison that you must transcend from to reach spiritual enlightenment. You're not going anywhere. Your body is a living archive of all your oversoul memory, your star lineages, sacred contracts, your flame imprints. So what you're missing is that the body is not slower than the soul. It is denser, yes, but it is more honest than the soul. Okay, sensations hold the truth that the mind has forgotten. The body remembers when the mind deceives you. Ascension is actually a descent, not escaping the body, but fully inhabiting it. So if we remember this, we would stop trying to escape our symptoms and start listening to them as codes, because they are codes. Okay, the second thing, time is not linear. It is a living spiral. If you look at time as linear, past, present, future, when you go back to an event that you feel like you should have evolved from, or you should have healed from, or you should be in a different place, you will think that you have failed because you are going backwards. You are not going backwards. Time is a spiral, which means you can stand at a spiral staircase and look down and see every single point that you have been at. But you have a new set of eyes. You're seeing it from a higher perspective. And so if you look at time as linear, you'll punish yourself for things that are only supposed to be deepening your truth. Okay? What you heal now ripples backwards to your past and forward to your descendants. Okay? So we're not stuck in past lives or future selves or anything like that. You are active nodes in your oversoul network that can be rewritten in the now moment. Okay? Because what you do right now affects every single version of you that has ever existed. Because everything is happening simultaneously. You're rewriting it in real time. So what we're missing about that is you don't need to clear karma by suffering. Okay? You need to rewrite timelines by integrating what is complete or what was incomplete. Flame bearers, the 144,000, are time weavers. You came to collapse false timelines and anchor new spirals, which means you need to heal, fix, and save yourself so that you have enough space in your body so you can fully descend and hold the light that's trying to come through. Because when you can hold the light holds the memory. Okay? And so ancestral, past life, and collective loops mirror each other. One shift creates echoes across them all. If we embody spiral time, we would remember how to intentionally collapse distortion patterns, the ones that we all keep repeating on a collective level. Okay? Emotion is intelligence. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. Every single one of them is trying to tell you something. It's a language. Most people are still trying to master their emotions by repressing them or transcending them or running away from them. But your emotions are the translation layer of your oversoul frequency. They are intelligent data from your field. They hold memories. Okay? And so what we're missing about emotions are that emotions are not moral. They're informational. Rage is a boundary frequency. Grief is a reunion signal. Desire is a memory that's returning to you. Your desires are shaped by the past versions of yourself, the different versions of yourself. Nothing is new. The denial of emotion is a shutdown of your oversoul language, of your soul speaking to you. So if we understand this, we would stop pathologizing sensitivity and start training the flame bearers, or the people who are supposed to be the leaders or guides in this reality, as seers and as feelers of the planetary grid, right? The mind is not your enemy. It is the interpreter. Okay, so the mind is only distorted when it is overburdened with tasks that it was never meant to carry. It is not your leader. It is a map maker. It is your decoder. It is your question holder. And so what we're missing is that we're not trapped in mind identified realities. How we get trapped in mind identified realities is that we think that our thoughts are us. Okay? The mind loops when it's untethered from the body's truth and the heart's signal. And so when aligned, the mind is your greatest pattern translator. Okay? If we honor the mind as an interpreter instead of a master, the ruler of what we do, we'd release thousands of years of false domination. Confusion is a sacred stop signal. Okay? Confusion is not a yes or an invitation to analyze. It is sacred fog created when you are between identities, when you're being repatterned, right? When you're near a deeper truth, but a distortion veil is still active. And so what we're missing about confusion is that confusion is not a sign of failure or anything like that. It's not proof that confusion, is not a sign of failure. And it's not proof that an old map has collapsed. Okay? The mind hates anything that has to do with the liminal space because it does not understand it. It doesn't have the capacity to understand the liminal space. Okay. And so confusion often means doing nothing, being still and listening. It is the void's way of saying you cannot bring the old ways with you here. And so until you let go of the old ways, you're going to continue to be confused because there's not enough space for the new version and the old version of you. Where are we going? So if we truly understand this, we stop pushing through the fog and start pausing to let truth emerge from the stillness of that. Okay. Fear is a threshold guardian, not an enemy. Fear arises where memory lives, not just this life, but encoded soul memories, unprocessed pain, and unfamiliar truth. So what we're missing is that fear is often an echo of something the soul once knew was dangerous, speaking our voice, being visible, trusting love, things like that. When met with neutrality, fear dissolves into power. Many flame bearers mistake fear for a no when it's actually a yes with resistance, a soul invitation. If we understand this, we move towards our threshold with honor and not avoid it. We would move through fear. Okay. Mastery isn't about control, y'all. It's about full embodiment of your original blueprint. Okay. There is no space for perfection if you want to fully embody yourself. If you want to be who it is that you are, you have to release trying to be perfect, because perfect comes from performance. It keeps you stuck in that masculine mental energy, right? You're trying to compare yourself to other people. You're trying to uphold this emblem of success and perfection according to societal standards. That is you still being in the programming. Perfection keeps you from moving, because if you can't take the perfect step, then you just won't take a step at all. It stops you from being willing to try. And so you have to understand the journey is about authenticity. It's about resonance. It's about refinement. It is not about perfection. Okay? Your blueprint, your oversoul's blueprint, or your original blueprint, includes darkness. It includes confusion, grief, rage, silence, envy, apathy, all of the things. It is not just a journey of light. So if you've been sold the whole love and light architect, you have to go through the darkness to get to the goddamn gone light. Okay? When the collective stops seeing these states as problems and starts training in how to transmute them, the entire oversoul grid is going to recalibrate. We will no longer operate from ego architecture, but from divine design. And so it is how we rebel. You have to feel again. You have to feel again. You got to get into your heart and out of your mind. You have to stop treating your mind as if it's the ruler, and it knows it does not know shit. It operates in assumption, right? It's like you getting into it with your friend, and because of how other people have treated you, you treating them that same way when you haven't even given them an opportunity to tell you what the issue is. I think a lot of the ways of the way that we operate is based off of what we have been through, or what we think is going to happen, not what is actually going to happen if we give it an opportunity to unfold. And so we got to start treating our mind as if it is just trying to help us put things into form, and lean more on our intuition. Lean more into what are the feeling of things. Okay, you're confirming so much for me, but it's being uploaded somewhere so I can listen. Yes, this will be on YouTube, y'all. So that's basically what I wanted to say. I'm gonna hop back on here, I think in like an hour to do a reading, because y'all know I do live readings and stuff. So I'll be back on in an hour. I got a client right now, so I gotta fucking scram. I love y'all. This will be on YouTube as soon as we get off. Okay, love you, bye. All right, YouTube, I love y'all. Bye.